Well, hello there, motherfuckers. And guys, before I start this review, let me just say that I'm about to talk about a game that was a massive undertaking for me on an emotional level and an experience that I'm never going to forget. Undertale is one of those games that's like once in a lifetime. This is a unique experience. It may be saying, well, Brad, you've played RPGs before that let you choose your destiny, let you choose your path, let you choose between good and evil. Yeah, but not on the same level as Undertale. I'm a massive fan of Mass Effect, Knights of the Old Republic, and Fallout, which all let you do those things, but this is a game that is so character-driven, that has such memorable and lovable characters that you don't want to hurt, and characters that the game tries to influence you not to hurt, but you still have the choice to do so. And that's where Undertale really starts to feel special. So basically, if we're going to be simplistic about it, Undertale is about a kid falling into the underground after the humans have sealed monsters underground with a magical spell, and now the kid is trying to get back home and trying to cross the barrier to get back to the surface, to get back to the human world. But needless to say, Undertale is about so much more. It's these characters. They grow on you, and when you do something bad, the game lets you know it. The game makes you feel bad, and you feel bad as a person. And you're just like, well, I'm just playing a video game. This is completely ridiculous. Why should I care about these pixels? But then when these pixels actually start to feel like your friends, well, the Undertale fandom, well, it finally makes sense to me. Now I see why people were ranting and raving about this game for 4.5 years straight. Because it truly is special. Undertale lets you experience something that cannot be experienced in any other games, because the game developers and the creators didn't think up these characters, didn't think up the sequence of events that transpires in Undertale quite in this way and strikes you in a way, the way that Undertale does. Undertale gets you emotional. It gets you thinking. It's a game that, has a pretty inviting art style. I like the retro look, the design of the monsters, the design of the characters, the personality of the characters, the numerous parodies that the game does on different types of video game and RPG tropes. It makes fun of anime, it makes fun of pop culture, it makes fun of it makes fun of humanity. It does so many different things, and it does them all right, and it does them in a memorable way where you're never going to forget what you experienced, and you're going to want to experience this game again and again. And what I love is it doesn't overstay its welcome. Undertale's a game that lasts for about 5 or 6 hours, and then you're going to want to play it again and see what happens if you make different choices throughout it. Now, during my first playthrough, I learned that this game will make you feel like a piece of shit for making choices that are not admirable. And Undertale will really pull at your heartstrings at times and make you regret certain decisions that you make. One in particular that I could think of is with Dogami and Dogaressa. These two are pretty evil looking. They wear black cloaks like Grim Reapers and carry scythes, and I was looking at them and I'm like, well, these two are evil. They've got to die. And then as I progress beyond the battle, after striking them both down in cold blood, you come across Snowden Town. And once you enter into Snowden Town, you talk to a few of the locals, and you see that a lot of these monsters are actually very gentle. They seem in good spirits. But then one character standing next to a Christmas tree tells me of a tale of 2 dogs that put Christmas presents underneath the tree for one another. And they seem very much in love and very joyous. And he says, I wonder where they are right now. And I was like, oh shit. Well, you know, I don't know. It's just, you have to be playing it to really experience that type of feeling. But I was like, it really made me feel like a heel. It really made me feel like an asshole. I had just killed 2 characters that seemed like they were a little bit more dimensional. That had many more layers to them. And they're minor characters, but still, these are not really characters that are expanded upon. But in that moment, with that dialogue box up on the screen, I was like, well, you know, there's a little bit more to these characters and a little bit more to this game. And very effective storytelling and a character-driven narrative, to say the least. Now, I befriended Papyrus and Sans on my path, but I also didn't really befriend Undyne. I didn't actually, I totally missed out on this opportunity. And when I got to the end of the game and I faced Asgore, I faced off against Flowey, and I faced off against Photoshop Flowey, and in a moderate ending that felt lonesome. This was a scary battle as you face Flowey and you're all alone. And I've heard that your first playthrough, you can't get the pacifist ending. I think you could get a better ending in the beginning. But this was a lonely state of affairs, as I was all alone, and Flowey tells me that he's going to be fucking with my save file, and he's going to be killing me 1,000,000 times over and over. I almost felt like I thought that I had fucked up. I thought that there was no way out of this battle. But boy, was I wrong. I was like, but I didn't really play a genocide route. I heard about a genocide route prior to playing this game. I didn't really know what it entailed. But I was like, you know, what did I do wrong? I kept most of the major characters alive. I didn't really kill all the bosses. I killed some of them. But most of the major characters, Papyrus, Sans, Undyne, Toriel, I kept them all alive. And I was like, where were they? But I didn't set the events into motion. And I will tell you that facing off against Photoshop Flowey and hearing that demonic laugh of his as you're just like in a void in the middle of nowhere facing him off. I mean, that was a rush of emotions. It was like, whoa, what am I looking at here? What am I listening to? What am I experiencing? Now, I missed out on a lot. I had a lot of fun during this playthrough, but I felt like there was things missing, and I knew right away when I didn't see the rest of the characters at the end of the game that I had done something wrong. Well, you know, you can't really do anything wrong in this game. It's really up to you how you want to play it. But needless to say, when I did a pacifist run right after this, there was definitely a lot more character development. It was certainly a better playthrough, but I still had a lot of fun during my first playthrough. It was just I wanted to experience what combat was like. And combat is really simple. It's a lot like Earthbound. And we all know that the creator of this game, Toby Fox, is well acquainted with Earthbound. He's a massive fan. He made one of the most famous video game hacks of all time with the Earthbound Halloween hack. So this game definitely harkens back to that style of combat, you know, where you can't see your character and you're fighting within a first-person perspective. But you know, this game's not all about combat. It's about talking to these characters, getting to know these characters. And when you play the pacifist route, you're going to be chatting it up with these characters. You're going to try to work out different strategies to not fight them and to try to befriend them and get them in a state where you could actually spare them. And this is a really interesting form of gameplay. And check out how the combat works. Or, you know, even if you don't even land a blow on your foe, you're still gonna have to go through this this quote-unquote bullet hell scenario where you're dodging a bunch of shit. And this is really fun. I like that it turns combat into a mini game. I think that this was a really good idea, and it's something that's not really done in RPGs. Nothing that I could really remember. It's a fun, unique take on it. It feels like a space shooter. And, sometimes things could get a little bit crazy, to say the least. And what I really like is the sense of atmosphere that Undertale creates. When I'm in the section of the game called Waterfall, which is a watery cavern, and you don't know when Undyne is going to strike. When you first meet Undyne, you don't realize that she's actually a cool, kooky character. Later on, if you choose to befriend her, she comes in this suit of armor, she starts throwing spears at you, and you hear this creepy ass music, which is another great piece for the Undertale soundtrack. You start to feel really uneasy. And that's something also that I felt during the battle with Photoshop Flowey. I felt a sense of being alone, of fear, uneasiness. If a game like that can create that feeling within you, you know that it has succeeded on so many levels. When you feel that game, in the pit of your stomach, when you can feel it in your mind, when you can feel it emotionally, and you just get this sense of just something empowering about playing the game. You know that this was definitely worth your time, and that's definitely what Undertale did for me. I am so grateful to Toby Fox for putting together a game like this. A game that dared to do something a little bit different, that may not be for everybody, but it certainly was for me. I mean, there's so many games out there that have stories, and people always talk about how great the stories are, like Halo and shit like that. But I'm like, oh my god, when you play a game like Undertale, you just say, are those people nuts? This is what a story in a game is all about. This is a story that doesn't make you roll your eyes and want to skip through the text. You're going to want to read every single bit and word of that text, because the lore of this game, and through the multiple playthroughs and the things that you learn throughout the game about what transpired in the past, what transpired in the lives of these characters prior to you falling into the underground and meeting all the monsters, and going through the journey that you're on, and what your purpose and the role that you play in all of this. That is something that all games and all creators should aspire their games to be. Undertale is one of a kind for that reason, because Toby Fox has somehow managed to, put all the cliches to the side, put everything that, you thought, a video game was supposed to be, and he just basically said, well, I'm going to make a game that everyone remembers. It doesn't need to be the best looking game. It doesn't need to have, 1,000 different, button commands and fancy combat options. No, it just needs to be memorable. It needs to be fun. It needs to be an experience that people are going to want to play and they're going to want to come back to. This is not a game that, you play through once. You're like, oh, gee, that was fun. No, this is a game that sticks with you. And you think about it. And then you listen to the soundtrack and you remember the memories that you had while playing the game. And it's like, wow, Undertale is definitely a special experience in my life. And that's how I felt about it. So I know a lot of people probably like, oh, well, the game was okay. And I've seen that reaction throughout the internet. But this game is just way more than okay. I felt things that I never had felt before in a game. I felt bad with certain decisions that I made during my first playthrough, and I felt like I had rectified those decisions during the first one. I'm very curious about a genocide run, but I'm also very weary about fucking up my file and never ever again being able to get the true pacifist ending. But it definitely seems interesting, and getting to fight Sans and all that definitely seems like a cool experience. But I guess that's the effect that the game had on me, and these characters had on me. It's just when you have to question doing a sort of playthrough because you don't want to feel like a sack of garbo. That's Undertale, folks. Well, there you go. I hope if you've never played Undertale before, you strongly should consider it. I hope that you are considering it after watching this review. And guys, thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. And guys, I'll see you next time.